Hello. And wherever you are in the world, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm going to talk about meditation. And last week, for the first time, a um, I hosted a meditation, a live meditation, and it was so good. And the thing is this, like, I've been meditating on my own for a really long time, but something I've noticed, especially when I'm learning, and I'm learning in community and I'm learning in the same space as someone else, it changes the vibration of how you feel. And spiritually, I feel so connected to this idea of, like, why are we here? What are we here for? And I spent a lot of time searching for the answers. Okay, so going all the way back. So I started my career, or working in general. I finished school at NC State. I graduated with a degree in chemistry, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna work as a chemist. And at the time, I felt like that was the right decision. And then I got into it. I was so bored, like sleeping in my car during breaks, bored, like also low key sleeping in the bathroom at work, bored. I was bored. Okay. And through a series of circumstances, I got fired from my job at this company. And I was devastated at the time, but I wasn't devastated because of the job loss. I was devastated because of the money. The income was going to go away. And that just was like a little aha moment for me. I'm like, oh, that's interesting that I hang on to things a little bit longer if it has to do with um, income. Anyway, so I finished working there, and I'm like, okay, finished working there is polite. I got fired. And once I got fired, once I got fired and I left, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do next? I started working at the mall. It was like happenstance, essentially. I don't think I would have even been able. You know what? I never thought about the blessing that was, because it really was. The fact that I got fired gave me the opportunity to explore something that I was interested in. So this was early. It was around 2008 when I got fired from this job. And I remember thinking to myself, what am I going to do? And this was right around the time that, there's always some kind of like national crisis, like every 10 years, every 20 years, every 10 years. So this was the crisis where we were having an issue with the banks. Everyone was having a problem with their money. People weren't making money. It was a true recession. And it was very scary for a lot of people. A lot of us were super scared. And a lot of my friends went back to school. A lot of them went to go get masters. I personally said, you know what? I'm not going to get a master's. I'm going to go do something I enjoy. So while I was in school, I was really in love with this idea of makeup. I loved it. I thought it was so great. I was like, this is so fun. And I was like, let me just go see if I can get this job at Mac. And I started doing a little bit when I was still in college. But after I finished college, I really pursued it. And Mac at the time, Mac Cosmetics, was really, really hard to work for because there was no social media. There was no, like, I can be famous and be a makeup artist and do my own makeup. None of that existed, right? So working at Mac was like the pinnacle of being a makeup artist, aside from having your own clients and your own client business. And a lot of people didn't have that unless they were a bridal artist. And it was really hard to build, right? So I was like, this is what I want to do. So I start working there. I'm a makeup artist. I'm hanging out. I'm doing my thing. And I'm enjoying it. I'm there so much. I'm there even when I don't need to be there. Okay. I'm like, I gotta just show up. I just gotta be there. Because in my mind, I thought, if I end up being like a successful makeup artist, the way that would look would be I would be working at the counter. And at the time, I was really into that idea until I wasn't. When I started to realize that I was not good at keeping a schedule, still not, to be honest. I'm good at attending appointments and being places on time that I'm supposed to be, but every single one of my days looks different. Every day. There is no day that is alike at all. I have no routine in that sense. Although recently I started to develop a routine where I walk every morning, which is fantastic. And I'm so proud of myself for doing that. And it has given me a lot of joy to be able to do that and a lot of regulation, internal regulation, nervous system regulation, all of it. And so I was excited. I was very excited about this entire thing. I was like, okay. I was talking to a person that was living there. I was talking to a person who was living in North Carolina at the time where I lived. And she was telling me there was this person, his name was Sam Fine, and he was this makeup artist, and he was a celebrity makeup artist, and he went all over the world. And at the time, I kid you not, I felt like she was telling me to go be an astronaut. It felt so intense and so far away. And I felt interested, but I was also like, but how? Right? So I went on this really long journey. I started, I finished school. I ended up working in a corporate job. I worked at Cisco. I worked at Salesforce for a few years. And I was like, I need to pursue makeup. So I found a mentor. I started working in makeup. And a few years after working in makeup, I started to explore creating content again. While I was in college, I made a few videos very secretly, and they went viral, which viral at the time was 300,000 views, which is still actually a lot of views at this time, but 300K views in like 2008 was really intense. So it was a big deal. And everybody was like, oh, like you didn't even tell anybody about this video and it still went viral. So imagine it was that easy to go viral back then. And my sister actually found it and I didn't even tell her about it. My sister found the video and she was like, yo, I think I saw you on YouTube. Were you on YouTube? And I was like, yeah, I made a video. She was like, dude, why didn't you tell anybody about it? I was like, I don't know. I was just like kind of scared. And the video, funny enough, was called Secrets to Clear Skin. And the craziest thing is what I didn't know. At that time, I was getting like one pimple here, one pimple there. What I didn't know was I was going to launch myself into this like need to do things that were related to acne all the time. And I was like, this feeling that like acne needed to be solved. And it was just this reoccurring problem that just kept happening. And I was just like, damn, I don't know why this keeps happening to me. But I don't know. Maybe it was like, maybe there was subconsciously like a connection there where I'm thinking, it was the thing that was the first thing that actually did something. So maybe I need to like have it in order to stay relevant. I wonder. Sometimes I think we subconsciously attract things to ourselves, even things that we don't want, just simply because of our limited beliefs. And sometimes you don't even realize you have a limited belief around something, like you're just like, it's fine. So yeah, so I was just, I don't know, man. I really thought that I was going to be a makeup artist for the rest of my life. Like when I tell you I was dead set, I was so on it. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is it. I found the thing that like brings me so much happiness and this is amazing and it's so lovely and it's so great. And so after doing it for a few years, at first you're really trying to find traction. I was living in New York City. When I first got to New York City, I lived in the East Village. I had 2 roommates. And I liked where I lived, but I knew that in order to actually like do what I needed to do, I needed to lower my expenses. So I moved up to Harlem and I had 1 roommate and my rent was $1,100 a month. And I was like, okay, I can handle this. $1,100 a month, take the train anytime I need to go places. Like my expenses were so low that I was like, okay, I'm going to make it. I know I'm going to make it. I have to make it. And it's so crazy because I just think about the fact that I was just like I was so excited and I had so much certainty around like doing makeup and being really excited about that. And then like I did it for a while. I ended up meeting some really incredible people and great people, actually, to be honest, because like if it wouldn't have been for them, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to pursue things. I would meet people and then they would be like, come with me, do this thing with me, do this thing with me. And at the time, even my mentor had advised me, she was like, you need to choose a lane. You need to be like, okay, if you're doing commercial makeup, you need to do commercial makeup. If you're doing TV makeup, you need to do TV makeup. If you're doing film makeup, that's what you do, right? And I started meeting these people that had all these different opportunities because this started to become the era of like the multifaceted creator. So you had people who were doing all these different things. In addition to that, they were also like launching businesses or writing books. And you had actors that were also writers. And it was just like there was this big mixture of all these like really fun things. I have met so many incredible people. Like some of the people that are now on television, like I met Jabuki before he was on television and he was still writing in the writer's room at The Daily Show. Joel Kim, I met Issa. I met Francesca Ramsey. I met a lot of these comedians, these people that were just like so dope and amazing. And I was like, wow, like this is so cool. And it felt so good. And then there's these, I don't know how to explain it. It's like there's a part of life when like you're struggling so hard, like you're like struggling. Do you know what I mean? But like at the same point, like there is like joy in the struggle because you're like the bar isn't like crazy high. But then when you start, what was really interesting is when you start to accomplish certain things and you don't even celebrate them or even care about them, then you start to get a little like, okay, it's cool that I got to this place, but you're not as like grounded, I think is the best understanding of what it feels like. So I remember anyways, I was working a lot, I was doing all this stuff when it came to makeup, and I felt really connected to it. I mean, I would fly myself places, I was building my portfolio with my own money. Girl, when I talk about how much money I have invested in my career, it is unreal. Like sometimes I think about the fact that like I probably could have bought a house. Actually, I probably could have bought two houses with the amount of money that I put into my own career. Like the amount of makeup I bought, the amount of money I spent on tech, the amount of money that I spent on like taking myself to different places so that I could be relevant, the amount of money that I spent on like building my portfolio, like all of it. I'm always investing. And and then COVID hit. And I remember when COVID happened, it really rocked me because I was so in the groove with makeup. And at this time I had started like um doing some like YouTube videos and like Instagram videos. I would do them like right before I went onto a film set or right before I would do all these different things. And I looked at my calendar. My calendar was like full, and not a little bit full, but really full. It was full for 2 months. I knew what I was doing for the next 2 months. And then what happened is slowly things started disappearing. So I was like, hey, we're just going to take a break, 2 weeks. Let's just see what happens. Then it was like 3 weeks. Then it was a month. And everything was gone. And I panicked because I felt like I had gotten to a place where I wouldn't even say comfortable. Lord knows, I don't even know if I've ever felt like comfortable. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that um, I work on a lot of things and invest in my own things more than I look for investment from other people. And I've been sitting with that a lot lately because I think I've carried that a little bit as a chip on my shoulder. Like I've looked at it and said like, oh yeah, like I can do this by myself. In this new season of my life, I'm inviting other people to invest in things that I'm working on. Instead of saying, I got it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it by myself, I'm figuring out ways to invite people into investing in my projects. But going back to this thing, like I felt so much fear when COVID hit. Like I can't even put it into words. It was so scary. Like you go from being a freelancer who's essentially basically paying your bills like day to day and being like, what am I going to do? To being like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay in New York City. Like that's where I was with my finances. That's where I was with like everything. And this is the time where I was like, I was actually dating somebody at the time, and he had mentioned to me, he was like, why are you going so hard? Because what I started to do is I was like, I have to do this. I have to be a creator now. This is what I have to do because I've been doing it, but I haven't been putting my attention into it. And it had been percolating in my mind to create more videos. I wanted to. And so I remember saying actually a month before COVID happened, I said to my manager, I said, I just need a month straight of nothing else and I can just make videos. And she was like, okay, yeah, like, where are you going to get that? And then COVID happened. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's now, huh? I flipped a switch in my mind pretty immediately. And I was like, okay, I gotta do something. And what's really interesting about me, and I noticed this especially like when I did Fashion Week in New York, I think when you do like being backstage for Fashion Week is one of those things that you don't even really realize how chaotic it really is. But when you're actually in it, it is insane. Things are going everywhere. Somebody's doing hair while somebody's doing makeup, while somebody's doing nails. You know, model might even try to be on her phone. It's insane, and you have to do everything so fast. And some of the things that I learned in that space is I learned that I am very good in chaotic situations. But what I later learned is that doesn't mean I need to live in the chaotic situations, right? Just because I perform well and I am a high performer in chaos doesn't mean that that is where I should stay or where I should be. And so I left I left I left that situation. I left the situation of being like, okay, I'm not gonna be like scared or whatever about this. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something. So I started jumping on live and I was on live like every day. Every day. Like every day. I was one of those people who was on there like Monday through Friday. I mean, every day was Monday through Friday to me. Like I still took off Saturdays and Sundays. And I was working. You know what I mean? Like I was working. And what was really interesting about it, and one thing that I actually really loved, it's probably if I had to think of any time that I have been a creator that has been my favorite time, it will be then. Because we were all home and we all wanted to connect. So people would jump on live and they would talk on there. And they would talk to each other. They wouldn't even be talking to me. Like I would be there as essentially creating a community that they didn't even really need me for. Like I was just there and they would like be like, oh, what lipstick is that? And they'd be like, girl, how you doing? Hey, hey, hey. They were saying hey to each other. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And it was fun, you know, like it was really fun. It was such a beautiful time. And I think like while it was chaotic internally because we were really scared, it was one of those times where we really connected with each other and we really wanted to know what each other was thinking and what each other was doing. And it was like, it was just so beautiful. And so, okay, now let's talk about actual burnout. Okay. Because sometimes you get so excited about something that you say that you're going to do that you disregard your mental health, your physical health, your everything health, you know, because especially I want to say the driver, and this kind of brings it back to what we were talking about in the beginning, is like financial health, right? Like if your financial health isn't where it's supposed to be, you start making decisions a lot of times. I shouldn't say you, me. I start making decisions that don't necessarily have to do with my wellness because I'm stressed. And I'm going to take a little side break here because I want to talk about loneliness really quick because I don't talk about loneliness enough publicly. But I've had partners before, but I've never really been in a partnership. Well, I'll say this. I was in love when I was 27 years old. And it is the one time that I really feel that was a while ago. And it was the one time that I felt completely convicted that I was going to be with this one person. And when we broke up, it rocked my soul, like deeply. I can't even put into words the way that I felt when that ended. It felt like, what do you mean? I thought we were going to start a life together. Like, what are you talking about? Like how could this be happening? When I tell you shocked, I also experienced having a panic attack around it. It's the one panic attack that I have had in my life. But when I tell you I could not breathe, I just felt so blindsided by it because I was so sure, I was so certain about this specific thing. Since then, I have been in love, but it's different. It had been different, right? So it had been like kind of more grounded, I guess you could say. Like maybe your feet are lifted a little bit, but not, they say that there's only they say that when you were in love the first time, it's like it's its own thing, right? It's its own special thing. And I agree with that. So it took me a very long time to recenter myself after that. And why did I bring that up? Okay, there's context for this, I promise. Why did I bring that up? Being in love, feeling uncentered, feeling disconnected. I don't know why I brought that up. Maybe somebody needed to hear it. Maybe that's why I brought it up, or maybe it'll come back to me as to why I brought it up. So, when I was burnout. What was I talking about? Okay, burnout is like a very fancy term to essentially say like I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I am exhausted. And I neglected my health, my mental health, and physical health, and everything. Everything. So at the time, I had read, well, at this time, there was no problems that people had with Russell Simmons, but okay, don't leave, please. Okay, he wrote a book a really long time ago that I read like over 20 years ago, okay, when everybody was like, he's cool, that talked about meditation. And in it, he talked about meditation that was transcendental meditation. And I remember thinking, he was like, yeah, they give you a mantra, you learn this, da da da. And I was like, okay, I'm putting a pin in that. And every time I think about knowing something or having an experience or whatever, and I'm like, I will read things and I'll be like, I'm coming back to that. I don't know when, but I'm circling back on that at some point. And I swear it was at least a decade until I circled back on it. So let's go back into COVID. So essentially I'm doing lives every day. I don't know if I was maybe I was about 6 months in. And y'all, I was tired. I was very tired. I'm more introverted than I present. And I think that a lot of people do think that I'm extroverted, but I'm introverted and social, right? I love connecting with people and I love having deep conversations with people. And I love being like, let's talk, let's really like be with each other. In fact, in a few hours, I'm actually going to go hiking with a friend of mine, Kelly. Her and I are going to hang out and we're going to talk, and it's just the two of us. And I find that when you have those just the two of you type conversations, you just feel so much more connected because the barriers can drop, things can drop, people cannot feel like they're being judged. Or sometimes when you get into groups and like everybody doesn't know each other equally in the same way, it can feel uncomfortable. And so I felt when it came to burnout and that introvert being such a strong introvert and pushing myself beyond what was capable, I think I ended up doing it for a full year. I started to find that I needed to figure out like a solution. So I found out about this transcendental meditation and I was like, okay, I'm going to go. There was a center at the time that you could go to. You just had to wear a mask when you went. And when you, oh my gosh, I got great news. Very good news. I just saw the thing for this email. I'm doing this, it's a commercial break. Okay. So I have a podcast called It Takes a Village. And I just saw a note from a publicist of a very, very well-known makeup artist who has a huge brand that I've been trying to meet with for about 5 months. And her publicist just sent me a message and said that they're going to do it. And I'm really excited about it. And it's a brand that you definitely know. And it's going to be exciting. I'm very, very excited. Okay. So rewind. Okay. Going back to burnout. So I felt so disconnected from myself. And I remember, I don't know how I refound that idea about TM. Maybe I looked at meditation. I literally cannot tell you how I ended up finding it again. Maybe I was sleeping and it came to me. I have a lot of dreams that have like prophecy in them and like tell me exactly what's going on. They help me understand more of what is happening. It's very, very interesting. So, okay. So I thought I lost you guys. Okay. Sorry about that. It looked like I glitched. So, oh my gosh, speaking of that, let me make sure I plug in my computer because I don't want to lose you. So, this takes me back to the live days on like Instagram. When I would do my lives on Instagram, I would be so freaking like all over the place. Like I'd be like, hold on, let me go get that thing. Hold on, let me go get this thing. Like it was like so chaotic. I also love that I'm falling into the fact that like I'm more calm than I used to be, but I still have a little bit of chaos in me, which I love. So that's what makes life beautiful. So I was feeling very overwhelmed and I went to the center and I remember thinking to myself, like, I don't know, sometimes I'm pretty open-minded, but sometimes I feel like things can feel like cults. And I'm very susceptible to being invited into a cult, to be honest, because I'm so open-minded, right? I'm like, oh, that's so cool. You're working on that thing. Oh, great. Yeah, I'd love to come. And then I end up in sometimes situations that are so crazy. But I just have to say, this is not that, okay? This is not that. Meditation is not that. This meditation is not that, okay? And so this meditation is not even religious. It's non-secular. And the reason why I felt so interested and attracted to it is because they talked about the mind in a way that I had never heard before, okay? And they talked about the fact that like the mind is an ocean, and at the top of the ocean is, you know, your daily thoughts, right? And if you think about an ocean, if you're at the very top, even if you're in deep waters, there's a lot of flowing, right? It's a lot of flowing. It's really intense. But then, right, there is the bottom of the ocean, which no matter what happens at the top of the ocean, the bottom of the ocean is untouched, unaffected. The fish down there don't even know what's going on. In fact, those fish, some of them, we don't even know what they look like because they're so deep in the water. We don't even understand what that is. So I think when they said that to me, I thought subconscious mind is so deep, it's so deep in the water. And when you get there, you get to the real peace. So as you meditate, as you continue to meditate more and more, like you have like the very top and then you keep going down and down and down. And as you continue to practice, you get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into your subconscious mind. And the idea was to practice in the morning, 20 minutes, and in the evening for 20 minutes. And that year, I started to meditate. I started to practice, and I really felt my life shift. Everything about my life shift. I felt shifted. It felt calm. I felt calm. I felt connected to myself. I felt different. I started attracting different things to myself, beautiful things to myself. I had another relationship during the pandemic that was really beautiful for me. It was very healing and very connected and exactly what I needed. And I think we were each other's support system in a really great way. I didn't see my family for over a year and a half. So that was scary. It's the longest I'd ever gone without seeing my mom or seeing my dad. And I was scared. I was very scared about that. I was scared because I didn't want to go see them because, you know, I was still doing this thing where I was doing lives every day. And I knew I needed to stay so I could finish doing the work, and I couldn't bring all my makeup with me if I was going to go. And then if I went there, what if they got sick? It was a whole thing. You guys remember COVID. It was so scary. But I feel if you were isolated during COVID, you had a very, very different experience. And to bring it back to loneliness, what I was talking about earlier, it comes in waves for me where I feel loneliness. And when I feel it, sometimes it feels so overwhelmingly strong that I genuinely feel like I lose it a little bit. Actually, I lose it a lot. And so most recently, I felt so overwhelmed with the feeling of loneliness that I was inconsolable when it came to, I was just crying. I was sad. I was disconnected. I felt like there was just so much going on. And I think that I had to reframe what it looked like to come and sit with myself, right? Because COVID happened 5 years ago. Now we're in 2025. But there's still the aftermath of that burnout that I experienced in 2020 that led into 2021. But I think really, really peaked in 2022. In 2022, if you followed me during that time, I went to Arizona for 3 months. And that was my first time where I really said to myself, okay, let's see if New York is the problem. And it was kind of crazy because I felt New York is a city where you feel like you're in a relationship with it. It's not like any other city. When you're there, you feel like you're in a relationship with it. And it's big, you know? It's big. It feels connected. It feels beautiful. It feels amazing. It feels special. It feels chaotic. You have all the feelings when you live in New York. You know, like you can be in your house and feel fine. You walk out and you feel overwhelmed with everybody on the street, and then you keep walking, and then like you see some a little kid hanging out with their mom. Then you keep walking, and then you're like, is this person trying to attack me? And then you keep walking, and then you're like, let me get a coffee, and it's just like feelings after feeling. It's just a lot of this all day. And so for somebody who is like regulating important for me, I felt very dysregulated in New York, and I don't think I really understood it because again, I prioritized that financial part. I prioritized my finances over my personal health, over my mental health. And so meditation became this place where I could finally find peace. And it's scary at first because I remember when I first started my meditation practice, I was just like, oh my God, I am thinking so much. That does not feel peaceful. That does not feel peaceful. My thoughts being the only thing I'm able to listen to does not feel peaceful. And then over time, what happens is your thoughts get slower. They get slower, and you have milliseconds, nanoseconds, microseconds of quiet. And those little bits of quiet are what keep me feeling so connected to myself. Like when I have a steady meditation practice, you cannot rock me. You can't. You can't take me out of who I am. You know, a lot of times you'll have different things happen in your life. Like the other day, I had a friend call me and we had a misunderstanding. And it turned into a thing where it turned into like kind of heated. And I was surprised because it was somebody who I've known for a very long time and just had not seen that version before. And I remember thinking, I was like, first, I got to go pray about this. Pray for him and pray for me. But second, I was like, I need to make sure that I'm more connected to my meditation practice. And I think, and it's a practice because it's like anything in life, right? Like if you're practicing something, it means it's not perfect. It means that some days you might not be able to meditate. It means that some weeks or some months you feel resistance in that space and maybe you don't go into it. And and I can relate to that because I remember that feeling when I was in COVID, when I was in that 2020 space, and when I was like really in the zone. I remember thinking to myself, this feels so good. I always want to be able to do this. But I think the reality of life is that we're never always going to be able to do something, right? There's certain time periods in our life. Imagine the beauty of COVID was that especially at its height, was that we were able to have complete autonomy over our time. There was nobody to meet. There was nobody to see. You were home all the time. I mean, we were all like redecorating our homes. It was a lot, but the beauty of it was that I had that dedicated 20 minutes in the morning and the dedicated 20 minutes at night. So I started to really see a difference, and I was very, very diligent about it. Like very. More recently, what I have felt is I've felt a calling to create a space around meditation, because for me, it's the thing that brings me back to center. And, we were talking about my career earlier. We were talking about being a makeup artist and going through that and how beautiful that was and how amazing that was. And then how I started to pivot into this world of being in front of the camera. So as a makeup artist, you're completely behind the camera. It doesn't seem that way anymore because so many makeup artists are being asked to be in front of camera and like create social content, and like we have to know who you are in order to book you, right? So it's a whole different world than it used to be. But at that time, when I first started, it wasn't like that. And so I started to be in front of the camera, but I started to do things like the Today Show and the Drew Barrymore Show. I'm actually wearing the Drew shirt right now. The Drew Barrymore Show and the Wendy Williams show she was on. So like there were all these shows that I started to do, and I was like, do I want to be an on-camera beauty expert? Like, is that what I want to do? Started to feel like that was the move. And then I went into it and I was like, okay, this is really fun. But I was like, okay, I want deep conversation. So I said, well, let me create a web series. So I started to create this web series and I poured everything into it. A 6-episode series. It's called Exploring Harlem. It's still on YouTube. You can check it out. It's on my YouTube. And you can check out this way of how I spoke to all these different entrepreneurs about what they were doing. I really wanted to create marketing assets for them that they could use to market their business. And after that, I started to create a podcast called It Takes a Village. And that was about connecting even deeper, longer conversations. Now we're in it where we're talking for a month. Now we're in it and we're talking for an hour, 2 hours. And I'm like, okay, I feel like I have something going on here. My obsession with how do you do it, was really why I got into it. After hearing from so many people, and I still am very interested in how people do things that they do, I started to feel like, well, why? Why are you doing it? Why did you do this thing? Became more interesting to me. And I started to also think about my own personal why. What is my why? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the why is in the meditation. I believe that when you meditate, I believe you connect with your soul's purpose. I believe that when you meditate, you quiet the noise of the everyday activities of driving your car, of, walking around, of feeding your child, of all these different things, right? Like if I think about my life when I'm exercising or when I'm checking social media or when I'm talking to my friends, everything is about everybody else but me. And then you have this beautiful time where you could be like, actually, this is no longer about me. Like, right? And you're like, this is great. And you like that. But the reality is that the more you avoid yourself, the more lonely you'll feel. And so I have been experiencing that. I've experienced this really strong loneliness that has just been all consuming and really, really intense and debilitating even. And I've realized that, the only person I can keep company is me. And the only person that can make me feel okay again is me. And the separation, I think, the thing that I think a lot of people talk about when it comes to meditation is they're like, Why do you feel like it's a time to find your soul purpose? Because a lot of people say, well, it's the absence of thought, it's the disconnection from the body, it's the reconnection to the soul, which I agree with. At the same point, you cannot deny that when you meditate, you get messages. Everyone does. Everyone does. Meditation is a form of prayer, right? So there's also prayer, which I do, and I have been doing even more. In fact, more recently, I've realized that prayer was something that I was missing, and the way that I was doing it. So I was raised Catholic. So the way we would pray is we're like very serious. We're like, dear God, thank you for everything you have given me. This has been so amazing. Or you're like, dear God, I need, and then you insert whatever. You're like, a cup of coffee today, right? Or like whatever. You insert your thing. Obviously deeper than that, right? Asking for a cup of coffee. You're probably like, dear God, bring me my soulmate. Actually, I prayed that too. Um, so, you have all these like moments of prayer that you experience, right? Where you're like, okay, I'm praying and then it's coming to me, but it feels very active. And I was actually breaking this down today. I was breaking it down because I was talking about like, I was having a meeting with one of my colleagues, and we were talking about how there's like the masculine energy and then there's the feminine energy, right? And the masculine energy is like this creator energy, but it's also this like manifestation energy. So it feels more like masculine when you're like in your creator plate. When you're doing, you're more masculine, right? But when you are receiving, you're in more of the feminine, essentially. So there's this balance where we have both within us. Everybody has both. And the creator part of you wants to be like, okay, I'm manifesting exactly what I want. I know what I want. I'm very sure. I know I have certainty around this thing. And then there's the other part of you that's like, well, I'm going to just, I'm going to just like take it. Right. And that's also very masculine. Like, I'm going to just take it. I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to, but if you're receiving it, right. The idea of like the feminine, like you're sitting and you're receiving, which is very, very much meditation. And it's kind of interesting of how drawn I am to meditation because I've always felt a disconnection from feminine energy within myself. And it's funny because I'll even ask friends of mine, I'll be like, do you feel like I'm feminine? And they'll be like, yeah, you're feminine. And I'm like, really? I'm like, I don't know. Am I? But I've always felt a disconnect from it. And I've always felt disconnected. So it's really interesting as I have felt more interested in connecting to myself and my femininity as a woman, the more I have wanted to sit in meditation, the more I've wanted to be in the receiving mode, right? So by being in the receiving mode, really what I mean is that like, when it's quiet is when you get your ideas. When it's quiet is when you can actually feel that everything will work out without you having to do. You are trusting that life will work out without you having to be so actively doing to make it happen. And that trusting is part of the prayer, right? It's like you pray, which is the do, the creator, the ask, right? And then the trusting is the manifestation of that prayer, which is within meditation, you are receiving. And so in my beautiful experience, I feel that meditation to me is something that has become essential to who I am. But it wouldn't have been essential to me if I hadn't have experienced extreme loneliness, extreme burnout. It wouldn't have happened if I didn't feel all of these things that I have felt around loneliness. Now I remember why I told you that dating story earlier. So when I was talking about love and how I've only felt love in that way, I feel like after that experience, I feel like the depth of loneliness I felt in my life expanded beyond something that I even really thought that I would be able to feel in this lifetime. And when I felt like that, when I finally like felt that level, it's grown in depth, right? Because I think that when you think that you have a certain part of your life sorted, you don't. When you think that you found the person that you're supposed to be with, it's like I don't want to say sometimes, but a lot of times it's like you've lost your individuality within that person. Really, what love is not losing yourself because you're going to lose that person. Really, what love is you love yourself so much that your extension of your love of self is your love of that other person. And so if that person decides to leave or to go or to be anywhere else, it is not your responsibility to bring that person back to you, right? That's more like you're pursuing, let me have you. I need to have you. I need to have this person in my life. And so that need or desire to pursue or to be with someone in that way actually makes the feeling of loneliness even stronger, right? Because as you move towards something, typically it tends to move away, right? Like it's not like a magnet, like you move towards it and it moves towards you. Because most people are attracted to their opposite. Most people who are more anxious are attracted to people who are more avoidant. So the closer that you move towards somebody as an anxious person, the further that person moves away. The goal is to be with somebody who is more in a secure attachment style, but we still have our baseline of how we are and how we grew up. And I think what you also have to understand about why meditation has been so important for me is that it's helped me regulate myself. It's helped me self-regulate. So I have more of an anxious attachment style, meaning I am more likely to go for you, right? And then I'm typically running after a person, and that person is running away. And the interesting thing is in the very beginning of a relationship, I'm quite secure. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like if this works out, great. If it doesn't work out, fine, no problem. Like I'm not stressed. I'm not pressed. I don't care. But as soon as I feel like something's happening, sometimes I get sometimes I get a little bit more anxious. And so what I do know is that when I have a steady meditation practice, I am able to regulate myself. I'm able to say that I'm okay. I'm able to remind myself that I'm fully whole on my own versus feeling like I have someone else who can fulfill some of me because I was already existing in wholeness before I met this person. So for me, meditation is honestly part of mental health. And I think it's really interesting because in a lot of different religions, people practice meditation, but meditation is truly quite secular, to be honest. It's not really connected to any specific thing. Um, I wouldn't even say meditation is really connected to prayer. I feel connected to prayer because I feel called to pray. And I feel like that is something that helps me feel connected and grounded and secure. And I feel also, oh my God, also, I feel that like without faith, I wouldn't be able to be an entrepreneur. I would not have been able to I've worked for myself for a decade. And when I tell you times have gotten dark, they've gotten dark. And if I hadn't been able to bend my knees and pray in those times, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you. And I think when you know that about yourself and you honor it, but you don't say, I'm attached to religion because I don't feel attached to religion, to be honest with you, which is really interesting. Because I always thought I was gonna like feel, oh, I really am this, or I really am that, or I really am this. I just know that God exists. That's all I know. That is what I'm sure of. Everything else, I don't know. I feel like it gets complicated. It's this text, it's that text, it's this text. I feel like those things are, I feel like religion sometimes is created to complicate things versus the understanding of the fact that the creator exists. Because to me also, right, like how do you rest if you feel like it's only your job to create? I don't know if I would be able to rest, to be honest with you. I feel like I would be constantly stressed out. I'd be like, why is this happening the way that it's happening? So I'm sharing all of this to say that meditation has been very, very important in my life. It has been grounding. It has been special. It has been amazing. And it's been something that has been unexpectedly one of the most beautiful things that I've ever experienced in my life. And I feel that especially now in the world where everyone feels so overwhelmed, everyone feels like they just don't even know what's going on. I feel meditation is going to bring us back to ourselves. And I want to continue to hold space for different meditations. Last week I held one. Sorry, it wasn't even last week. It was this past Monday. I held an hour-long silent meditation. We didn't meditate the entire time. We did one 10-minute and one 20-minute, and we talked in between. We talked about how to sit, how to sit comfortably, how to really, really like be in your body, and how to disconnect from your body, how to connect with your breath, and how to just let go of everything you're feeling. And it was so powerful. And I will definitely be doing them again, and I will be sharing them so that you also have access to them and you can see them, because I think that we are in a very, very important time where we have to remember not only to regulate ourselves from personal relationships, also from business relationships, and also from like this attachment of like what's happening. I think there's just too much in the world to help make us feel like, well, what's going to happen next? And I think what's going to happen next is the main question that everybody's having. And meditation takes you out of that. Meditation lets you know that we exist beyond this space and time. And we are not stuck in this idea of what we think we should do. But instead, a lot of what we think is possible is possible. And with that, I'm so happy that I did. It's been so long doing a live. And so with that, I just want to say I love you. I really hope that you're feeling good, special, amazing, powerful. And if you find time to come to my upcoming meditations that I'm going to be holding, I'm holding them on Zoom, but you can join the link on Eventbrite. I'm going to be sharing some more meditations coming up. Follow me everywhere. On Instagram is where I'll be announcing most of the meditations and threads. That's where I've been really announcing them. And I've been feeling really called to an idea I had called Meditation Mondays, where we meditate together in community, but also silently. And we sit with ourselves and we get into we get into peace and we get into our zone of genius at the same time. Okay, I love you. I will see you soon. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.